Having some technical. Ah, there we go. Finally. All right. Let me take this off of here. Something's going nuts. I don't know why I'm seeing this background. Do you guys see this background out there? Hi, everyone. Dr. Jason Pape, chiropractor extraordinaire, bringing you education, information, motivation, inspiration on the regular. For some reason, my Restream platform was showing you all my pretty face, but not anything more. Do they have a background there?
They should not.
There we go. Okay.
And we have to swap laptops.
So Vincent is telling me we need to change our laptops for some reason. Well, who knows what that might be? So as you all log in here, as we're changing our laptops over, again, I am Dr. Jason Pape, your chiropractic extraordinaire, bringing you education, information, motivation, inspiration on the regular. And like no other, it is Monday night. It is 7:53 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time. And tonight, we're going to talk about the importance of your feet and supporting them with things like orthotics and how that could be good for you. So I'm going to, something's going on here. I'm going to mute myself for a second. And why is it blurry? All right. Hold on, please. Difficulties. And we're back. Okay, so sorry about that. We were having some streaming issues with my other computer. And now we're good. Okay, so if you've never seen me before and you've come back for more, please put that number 1 in the comments below. If you have seen me before and I've come back for more, please put a number 2 in the comments below. So for those of you who don't know me, I am a chiropractor, functional medicine doctor, here to bring you some good education, information, or motivation, inspiration on the regular. Just so my producer knows, it is very laggy on my screen. But anyway, so tonight, how's it look on your guys' end? Looks good? Okay, for some reason, my screen is very laggy. I'm not really sure what's going on.
Really bad.
I had no problem the other night. I may have to change rooms while I'm talking to you guys. Let's see how this looks. Let's change rooms. Let's just walk around the amazing office that is the Vitality Center and find a better spot. You know what? We're going to go sit in the waiting area. We're close to we'll turn off that music in the background so we don't get copyright struck. And I'm going to sit right over here. Hopefully this is better. We have a good background, tree of life. We're sitting in my waiting room. And we're right near the modem, so hopefully that's good. Does it look better to you? Something's not right tonight. Anyway, here we go. So there's a few of you online here, so I do apologize if it is a little janky quality. Hopefully you can hear me just fine, even though I may look like I'm doing the robot.
You can switch back if you want.
It's up to you.
Yeah.
So hold on, we're going to do another swaparoo. I'm going to mute myself for 1 second. All right, we're not going to do that. So anyway, for those of you just joining, I apologize for all our technical difficulties. I appreciate you enjoying our little tour of the office very briefly. So tonight we're going to talk a little bit more about foot health orthotics and how that can help your entire back and your spine. Because at the end of the day, your feet are your base of support, right? That is basically how we get around. Like I'm standing right now on my feet. I work and on my feet all day long. So I am typically always on my feet. So I like to have some good support to make sure that my foot architecture is optimal to support my entire, the structure above, right? You're only as good as the support underneath you, correct? So tonight we're going to talk a little bit about orthotics and what those are and what the benefit of those are. So you'll see the slide pull up here, enhancing posture and performance. All right. Custom orthotics for optimal health, because we like a customized orthotic for your foot, for what your foot needs, right? Most other things that are not customized are made for everyone, not someone. Our goal is to make it for you specifically. So we'll talk about how myself and other practitioners might be able to help you with that as we go to the next slide. So foot health is really important, right? It is a foundation of our body alignment, right? 25% of the bones in the body are in the feet. It's pretty amazing when you think about that, right? There's 208 bones, I believe, in the body, if I remember off the top of my head, the total number. But the feet have a lot of bones. Hands and feet, a lot of bones. And if 25% of them are in your feet and that's what you're on all day, it's pretty important. And there's something called the kinetic chain or kinematic chain about how everything moves above. So if the foot's off, it can throw off the ankle, the knee, the hip, the low back, the thoracic, and then the thoracic, cervical, and even the head. Okay. It's all one giant chain. So it's really kind of important that we are making sure that's aligned properly. So I'm going to go back to just me. Something just went weird there for a second. Stop messing with stuff over there, Vincent. Anyway, we lost half of our viewers with that. So hope this is making some sense. If it is, I'm just going to go to my chat box here, see if anyone sent me any messages. Lydia's here. Hi, Lydia. I'm glad you're hearing me fine. We will talk about all this stuff when you do see me on Friday, Lydia. So let's talk about this. So understand that foot posture is very important. Okay. And our feet, if this is a foot, right, have an arch to them, right? And that arch is bony and soft tissue. All right. So it's a bony arch, all the bones we just talked about, as well as a soft tissue arch. And in your foot, like your plantar fascia. Hey, Lydia, while you're watching, how's the quality? Am I getting janky on you or not? Because my personal feed is janky again. So anyway, this is not going very well. But if that happens where that foot, that there is some normal flex to the arch. All right. Some people talk about being flat footed, right? You don't want it to be, there's going to be always a little bit of loss of arch when you stand. Okay. It should kind of come and go, but it should not be, you don't want to lose it completely. And you don't also want to go too far the other way. This is really ridiculous on my end here. I don't know what's going on with my computer here. I hope you guys are getting a better feed. She's saying I'm fine, Dr. Pape. So hopefully it's just my camera. But so the foot can go either way. Okay. And if it goes one way too far, or the other way too far, it can throw off the whole chain. So again, if the foot is flattening up too much, losing the arch, it's going to turn that leg, change the stress into the knee. All right. Which can change stress into the hip. And then that will change your base of support in your low back, especially if it's not even from side to side. Okay. Because your pelvis will write for that. And your body always wants to keep your occiput, the base of your skull, over your sacrum, which is the base of your spine within your pelvis. So if something's off, the body will always correct it, right? If your pelvis is misaligned, right? You don't walk on an angle all day like this, right? Your body rectifies that somewhere. It wants to keep this up over this. And if your feet are off, same thing can happen. The body's going to use whatever it needs to do to balance that out, whether it's a knee, a hip, a low back, or the spine somewhere. So for us, it's really important to make sure that base is proper as we move up. So in my office, I do a technique called activator, and we look a lot at the feet. And when people come in, there's usually one leg shorter than the other. And it's not because they have an anatomical problem, it's because something's not moving right in their pelvis, making one leg appear like that. Because if there's misalignment in that pelvis, the leg will show up a little bit shorter. And then the body compensates in different places for that. Okay. But we understand the feet are really important. We got to get that level off, and it can be coming from the pelvis or below. We're going to talk about the foot part of that here a little bit more. So let's go back to our kinematic chain here. As I click on my little slide that's popping up the bottom corner. For some reason, it's swapped for where I should be. Let's do this. Let's try this out tonight. There we go. Hopefully y'all can see that pretty well on your phones or TVs or whatever you're watching this on. Now, drop foot's a different kind of problem we'll talk about, Lydia. I'm sorry to hear that. But that can happen where we have some weakness due to nerve injury. But we're going to talk more about the foot architecture and how it all works. So if we go a little bit further forward here in our slides. Again, let me see if I can make this bigger. It definitely talks about some of the things that can happen. Misaligned feet can cause issues with the skeletal structure. We just talked about that. Foot health can be plantar fasciitis, bunions and hammer toes, shin splints, hip and lower back pain, sciatica, and proper foot alignment can prevent injuries and discomfort. So understand that's kind of what we're talking about here, right? That sometimes the way our foot is moving can affect everything above it. Now, we'll get a little bit of a picture later on, but really supporting proper foot architecture is important. Now, I personally, and this is no slam against podiatrists, I don't prefer podiatric orthotics. All right, so orthotics is something you put in the shoe to support proper foot architecture. Now, remember I said before that the foot should flex and move back and forth. It has mobility, right? And there's a certain gait to feet. So when you walk, okay, you have heel strike, all right, and it hits on the inside of your foot. I'm using my hand, but it hits on the back of your heel on the inside. And then it comes across the back of the heel on the outside of the foot, across the metatarsal heads where the ball of your foot is, and then you push off with the toe. It's kind of this, like that, all right? Let me see if I can show you while I stand. So, I don't know if it's going to work. Let me see if y'all can see my feet. No, it's not going to work tonight. Anyway, my point is there's that normal heel strike on the inside of your heel. It rolls off the back of the heel on the outside of the foot or on the fifth metatarsal across the metatarsal heads and then push off with your big toe. Okay, that's normal gait. Sometimes people pronate where they go too far and their foot flattens out, or they supinate, they go too far on the outside of their foot. Either way, it changes your gait pattern. Now, an orthotic is designed to support proper gait patterns so you don't go too far one way or the other. But like I said before, there's a natural movement to that arch. It shouldn't be so rigid. It doesn't stay perfect. People sitting versus standing will have a different arch because of the flexibility, and we want to maintain that. Most places that you go for podiatric orthotics, unfortunately, have usually a hard piece of plastic resin with a thin film of like rubber on top. So it's this hard thing smacking into your foot. It doesn't really allow for the proper motion. It may not let you go too far in, right? But the problem is it doesn't allow for any of the normal flexion we have. So I prefer a firm but not rigid orthotic that is made to support the proper architecture of your foot, but not allow you to go too far one way or the other with shock absorption built in. So I'm going to talk about some of the products that I like to use, and you can look for them whether if you're local to us, you want to come get us, if you're one of my patients, or if you have a doctor near you, go find a chiropractor or someone who uses sling more similar. All right. So we're going to go a little bit further on in our slides here, folks, and see how we do. All right, let me see if I can shift around this layout a little bit better. So wait, it's a little bit, nope, that won't do it. That's one we just had. Let's try that. Or is that cut? No, that cuts it off. Back to here, because it wasn't popping up properly earlier. I'm showing, that's what I wanted. Okay, so we talked about some of the things it can lead to, right? And if those feet are off, all right, and we have, because remember, we're not always perfectly symmetrical. What if this foot pronates more than this one? Well, what kind of force I can change up my leg? It's going to change one knee more than the other, hip more than the other. It's going to change that pelvis, and my body compensates and can lead to other issues like knee, hip, low back, anything above that or below. So let's talk about a little bit more about some of this stuff here. And if you have questions, please drop them in the comments below, whether you're watching live or in replay. So again, here's that kinematic chain on the left, and on the right, you can see how that might affect someone's posture, especially if one foot pronates in more than the other, like this example is showing you, right? The knee rotates in, drops that hip and pelvis, the other side of the pelvis goes up, and then the shoulders try to compensate for that. All right. So they can help correct foot imbalances, like I mentioned. They provide arch support to reduce stress in the joints, can improve athletic performance and daily comfort, and beneficial for all ages and activity levels. So that is also true because what happens if that foot architecture is not optimal? What if it's not taking in that force optimally? Well, it's going to affect performance, right? And the body needs to get good input coming in. And if it's getting bad input because part of the foot's hitting differently, things like that, it can affect your athletic performance. In fact, I have some orthotics that we use that actually are specifically made for golfers. Actually, they've shown in studies to increase their drive 9 to 15 yards. It's kind of cool. So just from proper foot architecture. So it's amazing. Again, the more you get things moving better, the better they are. Just right, you can be a better athlete if we adjust your spine, right? Obviously, everything's moving more optimally. You can function better as an athlete. I have people, after I adjust them, they're hitting the golf ball better. They're swimming more symmetrically and properly. They can gain time a little bit. Sometimes a lot of these sports, it's just seconds you're gaining back, right? So foot's no different. And we can manipulate the foot as well. But again, we're talking about how can we support this during your day to support that healthy architecture to help it continue to heal. And let's go a little bit further. And there's different ones you'll use for different things, whether they're dress shoes, sneakers, or different types of athletic types of shoes. We like to have different ones we like to use. That's another reason why I like some of the ones I use as opposed to your traditional podiatric orthotics, which are usually one size fits all and doesn't always fit all. All right. So again, here's some things that can be commonly seen with people with poor foot support. Persistent foot pain, even when you're not on your feet. Plenty of people with plantar fascia have most pain when they first get up in the morning, when they get up after sitting for a while, not when they're actually on their feet, because of the irritation from the things they had and then the swelling afterwards. Knee, hip, or low back pain, uneven shoe wear. So one thing I'm always looking at people's feet because I'm doing the activator technique. I see shoes. And I'll talk about wear pattern in a minute, so it's kind of important. Difficulty standing for long periods can also be a frequent ankle rolling or instability because your body is not getting good support. You may not stay on your feet well. You may not be more likely to roll an ankle. Now, when you buy a pair of shoes, right, they have a nice even heel, right? Over time, though, that heel will wear. Well, why will that wear? Because no matter what your foot strike is, whether it's proper or not, is a repetition of it. Remember I said before, you start on the inside of your heel, you work to the outside. Well, if you're doing a lot of that, and a lot of that first heel strikes in the inside of the heel, most people's shoe wear pattern will be in, if it's done with a proper heel gait, we'll have that inside of the heel wear first, the outside and across by the toes. Like you'll see that heel heel toe pattern that we talked about. And in fact, if you look at a sneaker, how are they built? They're built with that, with most of the shoe that actually is on the ground in the pattern I talked about. So, but what happens is now the shoe starts to wear, and eventually the inside of the heel starts to wear down and down. Now you're going to accentuate an improper gait pattern, even though you may not have had one. So your shoe is really important that we're constantly replacing. So if you start with an even, nice heel, and normal wear pattern, even normal wear pattern, your inside of the foot's working for first. Eventually, that'll start to get smaller and smaller on the inside, not the outside. And now your foot starts to roll in because the heel's not supporting it properly anymore. So as you start to see wear pattern in your shoes, you really should get new ones regularly. Otherwise, you can accentuate a bad pattern made by normal wearing of your shoes. And then if you throw in the fact that you have a really bad gait to begin with, you're going to now accentuate that bad gait even more. So it's really important to make sure, A, we have a good support in the shoe, but that we're constantly replacing shoes and not letting them wear out too much. And if you love your shoe, but you don't want to, and the top's really good, but the bottom's worn too much, go find a cobbler. Good luck with that. But good, if you want to get them resold, you can do that. But again, we want to make sure we have a good supportive shoe, because even though sneakers may have more support in them, they're not built for you. They're built for everyone, not someone. I say that a lot about different things because it's true. All right, let's hit that button. The next one. This thing is just really slow tonight. We will make sure this is better for next week. So for those of you coming in late, or let me know. Chuck, put a number 1 in the console if you've never seen me before, or 2 if you have seen me before. Again, I am Dr. Jason Pape, your group, your one-stop holistic shop chiropractor here, coming at you live on the regular. And make sure to stay tuned for next week's episode. We'll talk about it again at the end. 7:30 next week on Tuesday night, the 25th, and you will get to meet my mentor. If you've watched me before and you think I'm a little bit smart, hopefully you do. That's why you watch me. You ain't seen nothing till you met when you meet Dr. Berger. So anyway, different types of orthotics. You can buy them over the counter, right? Again, they're pre-made, right? Not much customization. Yeah, there's some other ones out there that they kind of like say, oh, if you have this kind of foot pattern, buy these. But that's more of a generalization. Then even if they're better attuned to what your foot is, no feet are perfect. Where like maybe this one's more pronating, this one's not. And you're like, oh, I have a flat foot more in my right foot than my left. Well, let's get these because that seems to match. But it may not be the right thing for you. There are custom orthotics like I do in my office, like many chiropractors do and many podiatrists do, where they will customize your orthotic based on your individual feet. All right. There's also soft versus rigid. I talked earlier about why I don't traditionally like more traditional podiatric orthotics because of the rigidity of them. And I don't want to say soft. I'm more of a firm but not rigid. Right? They have to support it. You don't want this weak Dr. Scholl's kind of thing. It's just a piece of rubber in there. That's not going to support anything. It may give you a little more cushioning, but not fix it. And then specialized ones for different things, like certain sports, like I mentioned those golf ones before, or medical conditions or things like that. I like to do ones that specifically are tailored for my patient. We pick them out based on what their needs are, not just what their foot needs, but what they're going to use them in. Is it a dress shoe? Is it a boot? Is it a heel? Is it a sneaker? Is it for a certain sport? Do they have a bunion? Do they have something going on where we need to support a specific thing in their shoe? That's why I like to use them. I happen to use a company called Foot Level, which I really like. Many chiropractors use them across the board, and my patients really love them. And sometimes they're even covered by your insurance. And eventually this will turn over to the next slide. So this is what I use in my office. It's a foot scanner and a postural scanner. So it's kind of cool. It tells me a topographical map of your foot, all right? That shows me not only what what your shoes do and where the wear pattern, where you're putting your weight, right? So on the left-hand side, that's a more normal foot. The one on the right, not so much. But it also talks to me. I can use that information when I'm working on you to understand what's going on best with how you're moving in your gait patterns. And it also can give me a whole 3D picture of your whole your posture, which is really kind of cool. It can help me better evaluate what's going on with you when you come into my office. Not all chiropractors have it, but some do. And it's a cool tool, right? Well, you don't have to have it to help someone though, but it is a nice help tool. And I'm going to show you a little bit more of a blown up picture of what these look like. So we do some 3D scanning to really get a personalized customization. Because let's say one of your feet look like this guy here on the right, and one of your feet look like your here on the left. You need two very different orthotics for you. So customization is really important if you can get it. As we go a little bit further here on my notes, my slides, which are taking forever. So this is kind of cool. I'm going to take myself off here. And actually, I'm going to zoom in a second. It can help support what I do because it can help balance out some obliquities in the pelvis and reduce a lot of recurrence of your issues and support what I'm doing better. So if I go to the next slide, you'll see a little bit more in a larger picture. So look at the difference from the left to right hip without an orthotic and with. Now, this is not with a lift. This is with an orthotic supporting proper foot architecture from side to side. And that alone helped balance out someone's pelvis. Now, when I'm done adjusting you, you'll be nice and straight. But just that little bit of change alone of supporting that standing posture with a better orthotic was really important. Now, again, sometimes people do need lifts. Most of the time, I do not like giving lifts to anybody unless you actually have an anatomical leg, short leg. And it's also important to understand that there's a magnification as you go up the chain from your foot to your pelvis. So a 1/4 inch difference, anatomically speaking, not functionally, from your legs from left to right is an inch difference in your hips. So if I give someone, if someone's like an inch off on their hips, right, on x-ray, and let's say it's an anatomical problem, right? There's an anatomically short leg of an inch. It looks like an inch. If I give a 1/4 inch support on the bottom, that can balance out up to an inch. It's like this. If I took two marbles and I put them right next to each other and I push them and I push them slightly apart from each other on an angle, over time, they start to do this, right? So a slight difference in your feet amplifies itself as it goes up the spine. So it's a 4x amplification from the foot to the hip. So it's really important to understand that. So if someone is giving you a lift, make sure they understand that that can amplify and push you too far the other way in the pelvis. I'm not a big fan of lifts unless someone really has an anatomical issue. I've definitely seen PTs out there just start shoving things into people. Oh, now your pelvis is straight. No. Let me work on that. You'll see that won't work anymore. All right. You need someone like myself that's trained to actually get that done properly before you start taking lifts into shoes. I'm not a fan of lifts unless you actually have an anatomical leg, and then it may be required. And that's not that common. All right. As we go a little bit further forward, only a couple more slides left, folks. So what do you do? How do you help this? Well, get your foot scanned by a practitioner like myself that might do that. Go over those results, possibly get an custom orthotic, and then get the long-term benefits. So plus, it's also really important for who is your doctor? Are they looking at your gait? Are they looking at how your feet are with and without shoes? Do your feet go in? Do they not? Do you lose that arch when you're standing versus sitting? Like, it's one thing to say someone has a flat arch, but then they sit down and you say, oh, you have an arch. Then they'll lose it when you stand. How much so? Are they looking at your heels, your Achilles, to see are they staying straight? Are they turning in or out? That gives us more information. Are they recommending the right shoes for you? Like, shoes have what's called a last, L-A-S-T, all right? You can have a straight last, a semi-curved last, or a curved last. All right, so if you look at the bottom of your shoe, is the shoe like straight? Yes, there's always a little bit of curve where you insert, but is it relatively straight? Does it curve where it kind of goes straight and then curves a little bit more towards the toes? That's a semi-curved last. Or is it more of a C? The more of a last, the more higher the arch would be in the shoe. Most shoes wind up having most sneakers usually come like more of a semi-curved last. New Balance happens to be a company that makes very different. You can buy different types of lasts in their shoes. That's why they're kind of a good thing for people to use. Most of the time, your dress shoes are more of a straight last. All right. So those are some of the important factors to take into account too. So if you're not getting an orthotic, but you have much more flat feet when you're on your feet, you might look for a semi-curved or curved last shoe versus someone who maybe has too much of an arch. And I wouldn't want to accentuate that more. Just some examples. No two shoes are made the same. If you're a runner, you should be replacing your sneakers every 3 months, maybe 6 months, depending on how many miles you do. All right. Because the wear on them. There's definitely different things out there that are different for different people. Certain shoes come in different widths. That's why the other reason why I kind of like the New Balance, because you can buy widths. All right. They may be the dad shoes, right? But they're not, but they may be the best thing for your shoe, right? Some people love Hokas. I think Hokas are great. They're light, they're soft, and they're very comfortable for people. I will tell you from my own personal experience, what I've seen in my office and with other patients is that they seem to be really supportive, but maybe not last as long as other shoes do. Like they seem to wear over time a little faster than some other running shoes. But there's other great brands out there. Nike's pretty good, but they run a little narrow. Sometimes, you still have your Reebok, your Adidas, your Saucony, your Asics. There's a lot of good products out there you can get for your shoes, even a bunch I didn't mention, some newer ones too. So go find out the right shoe for you. There's plenty of good runner shops you can go to that'll tell you, help you really find a good shoe for you, for what your activity level is, right? Different sports, different types of shoes. And sometimes orthotics can be good like that. Different orthotics can be used for different activities. So those are hopefully some helpful tools for you guys there. We'll come back to some of my slide here. I think the last one just says, thank you for coming. But we will see. I can't remember and I can't see them without hitting. Yep. Okay. So next week, let's segue to next week. Next week, you're going to meet my mentor, the one and only Dr. Monica Berger. So Monica Berger I've been following and working with Monica in some capacity for about 20 years now. So many of you heard me talk about my mentor a lot. That's her. Now I've learned from many people. I've seen mentors over the years, but she is my go-to. At this point, she's almost like family to me. We call her, she's my big sis. I'm her little bro. But she is brilliant. And she is one of a kind. And I'm hoping that she can impart some amazing, amazing pearls for you all next week. And because I really can't wait to have her on here. She has become the CSO of a really amazing new company that I'm really excited to talk to you guys about, because I do a lot of nutritional in the office. I use a lot of supplement companies, and I've curated a lot of good things because I know the quality of the product and I know that the quantities in there, what you need. And I really have a high confidence in the company that I work with. But there's only so much confidence I can have, and I still have a very high confidence. But when I know who's the CSO, the Chief Science Officer of this other company, and it's her formulations, and I know her mind, and I know what she does, and I know the research she does, it's another level that I can't ever hope to match anywhere else. So I'm really excited to bring some more information about these products to you guys next week and how to get them, but also to have her give us drop some dimes and some wisdom for y'all next week. This is a really exciting event. So please tell everyone about it next week, Tuesday, the 25th of March at 7:30 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time, right here, only on Dr. Pape Live. That's what we're going to call it now, Dr. Pape Live. So if you guys found this helpful tonight, the best way you can say thank you is just share this out. Put it in a page, in a post, in a private message group, whatever. Get it out there. All right. If you have questions, feel free to drop them in the comments below or private message me, whether you're watching on YouTube or Facebook Live, or you're watching us on replay on any of these platforms or any of our socials. I'm going to put some Linktree stuff up there. I didn't do that earlier. I've been a bad boy today. So here's all our socials. You can follow us on our Linktree up there. If you have any interest in the drinks that I'm always drinking, my ketones, you can scan that right here. Some interesting news about Prove It. I just found out the last day or two. I might as well talk about it now. It looks like Herbalife is acquiring Prove It as a company. I'm not really crazy about the decision. I think I see what they've also acquired Herbalife recently. It's some interesting nutrition directed by genetics type stuff, Pro2Col and something else. And I think they're going to put this all together. I do know that Prove It will at least be independently run for the next 2 years, and then I'm not sure what happens. So as much as I love my ketones and my Prove It, it's sad to see this happen, but I'm sure there's some benefits to it as well. I don't have all the details, but still the same great product. I know there's nothing's going to be changing for that just yet, but if you have questions about that, reach out to me. I'm going to find out more and keep you guys in the loop, but I still love my ketones, and you'd have to pry them out of my cold, dead hands. So with that being said, I hope you guys all had a great evening. I appreciate you guys coming. And as always, thanks for watching. Like, share, subscribe, all those things. And we'll see you all in the next video. And with that, I will say adieu, Dr. Pape and Dr. Ketone.